Hi, I'm Lionel, this is TechLoto, and this is my honest review for the Elgato Facecam versus the Logitech Brio 4K versus the iMac M1 Facecam camera. In the past 18 months, I've had the chance to really test out the Logitech Brio, and it's been part of my Zoom setup. Then when the iMac M1 came out, it completely changed everything, and I had to test the Logitech Brio against the iMac's camera and against the Elgato Facecam camera. So in this video, I'm going to go into what you can expect based on the type of lighting that you have, the background that you have in your video, and believe it or not, even your complexion. So that you don't have to spend too much time watching the video, if you want the short answer, go for the iMac M1 camera. Better than anything else. If you want the long answer, stay for the rest of the video. So first, let's talk about the Logitech Brio 4K. So the Logitech Brio is a brilliant camera and it's so good for any setting. You're getting a wide range of features that you can use with Zoom. One thing they don't tell you is that you have to stick to the basic software for Logitech Brio, otherwise Zoom really struggles to go for the more complex Logitech software without slowing things down. Also with the Logitech Brio, it has 4K beside the name. I have tried it in Zoom, I've tried it in so many settings. I haven't been able to get that 4K setting. In reality, I haven't even been able to get it to 1080p. It's just been 720p and that's it. And some people may say it's the processing of Zoom. That's not strictly true, because for Zoom, sometimes in the past I have used my Canon EOS R and I can set it to 4K. Based on the lens that I'm using, people can really see the quality of the camera. When you use the full width of the camera, you'll see that there's some bowing at the edges of the camera. So if you have a detailed background where there's lots of things, your viewers will be able to see that there's some kind of distortion behind you. But if it's a plain white background, people won't really be able to tell the difference. In terms of color as well, the Logitech Brio does a really good job of capturing your complexion, capturing the colors that are behind you. It's not quite Canon color, but it still gives a realistic impression of what's actually in your surrounding. As far as webcams go, with the Logitech Brio, I would probably give it about 4 out of 5 stars. If you're buying this camera and expecting 4K, that's not the case. It's not going to give you 4K. I wanted to start on a good note. Let's move on to the Elgato Facecam. You've probably seen this advertised so much online. You've seen people with lighter complexions in well-lit rooms where either the sun is facing them or they have a studio setup like I do, and then they're telling you this is a great camera for you. That's not the case. You can see in the footage that I've given, I haven't used much lighting, maybe one small light box, but that's really it. I'm using mostly natural lighting to show you the different settings of these cameras. But the problem is the people who are reviewing them, they have 3-point lighting, £1,000 light box, and then they're telling you this is the ideal camera for you. When you get home, you're just not going to find that it's the same. And if you have a darker complexion, you're definitely not going to like this camera. It loves to really bring up the red in the footage. So you'll find that if you're a brown skinned person, all of a sudden you're a red Martian. And the way Elgato balances this out is that they'll show you so many things that you can change, but that's part of the problem. They give you so much color correction and so much ability to play with what your footage looks like, because the color just isn't good enough. It's not good at recognizing darker complexions, and I really wouldn't go for the Elgato Facecam. Also, when we're talking about contrast, this is where these cameras you really start to see the differences, but I'll go on to the king of contrast in a second. As far as I'm concerned, the Elgato Facecam gets 2 out of 5 stars, and it's not a camera I would really get.
And now a word from our sponsor.
So the sponsor for today's video is Nubo, and Nubo is the fastest way to build global apps. It genuinely allows you to build a truly global application, so that means it's easy to scale it, and it means that when your users are on your app, Nubo automatically deploys your app based on the closest location to your users. And with Nubo, you're not just stuck with creating your apps under one language. You can literally build in the language of your choice. And one more thing that sets Nubo aside is that you don't have to worry about getting analytics through a third party. All the analytics that you need is directly available on the platform. So head over to nubo.app, that's nubo.app, to get early access. And if they ask, remember to tell them that I sent you.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
So let's move on to the king. And what you have to remember is when you're getting the iMac M1, you're getting a FaceTime camera. And if you think of FaceTime, it works in any setting. We really don't appreciate how good FaceTime is. And if you look at all the jokes and all the memes online when people make fun of Android users, it's because they don't have that standardized camera where the FaceTime camera is able to capture anybody in any setting, any lighting, with any complexion, and that's where this wins out. The iMac camera is just brilliant. I see what Apple has done because the colors are a tad bit muted, but even when you have a window behind you where the sun is blaring in, the FaceTime camera is able to adjust for the contrast really well. So you're not getting a massive washout behind you. You're still able to see maybe even some of the details while your face is still also well lit. It's a really good camera, and for me, it definitely gets 5 out of 5 stars. I don't have to go into the specs because look at the images side by side yourself. You can see the FaceTime camera works a lot better than these other ones, even much more so than the Logitech Brio 4K, and I've used that camera for the past 18 months, and as soon as I switched on the iMac M1, that was it for me. I'm not really an Apple fan, so it was really difficult for me to admit this. Put the names of the cameras to the side, dare I say it, even put the specs to the side, but just look at the footage that you get from each camera. It speaks for itself. So if you're someone who has the new M1 iMac and you're thinking, should I also get a webcam along with it? There's absolutely no need. If you don't have the iMac M1 camera and you're thinking of getting a Brio 4K, go for that. That's a really good camera as well. Just know that if you're planning to go wide angle, the footage may be a little bowed at the edges, but in terms of the Elgato Facecam, I really wouldn't recommend it. But again, that's for me. That's someone with a darker complexion. I don't want to look like a Martian while I'm in a meeting. I'd prefer to have the skin complexion that I normally have. But I hope that video was helpful. Don't believe the hype. Just take a look at the setup of the people reviewing these cameras before you believe everything they say. And if you have any questions or you want me to go into the specs of each camera, please let me know. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you very much for watching.